All right, what's up, gang? Welcome back to, I guess this would be the second podcast episode of the That Bass Fishing Dude podcast. It's been a rough start to the 2023 year. This is going to be the first episode of 2023, kicking off tourney season down here on Somerville Lake, which is not actually the real kickoff, but, I've got Junior, small-time fishing with me, and then we got old Gerald, Three the Hard Way on social media, down here hanging out doing some fishing this weekend for the Texas KBL, one of the local tournament trails of the year, which is actually the season opener. We had a big bass tournament about 2 weeks ago that would have technically been the kickoff of the year, but it didn't actually get started out the way that one would like for it to have gotten started out. Some of y'all that follow me on social, y'all probably know by now that my adventure wagon actually slid into the lake a couple weeks ago. And still slowly but surely recovering from that. Not a good time at all, but we're making the best of it. We got a new truck, Adventure Wagon 2.0 back there in the background.
Which is a beast.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice for sure. It's a nice little upgrade. It's an unfortunate upgrade that I didn't want to have to buy, but it's one of those things. It is what it is. We don't quit. We just keep on pushing, and we keep making things happen. So, with the things that we did in the old truck, we're just going to do them bigger and better in the new vehicle this year. So, still dealing with the insurance stuff on that side, but none of that's neither here nor there. We're here, to kick off the season with a bang.
Get back on the water.
Get back on the water, because I didn't even actually get to get on the water
right
outside of practice. But it's all good. Yeah, so we're down here at Somerville Lake. I guess this would be considered southeast Texas. Yeah, southeast-ish. It's a little, south of College Station out here east of Austin. And down here with the Texas KBL, man, solid group of guys. Probably some would say, a lot would say, probably some of the best talent in the state of Texas.
Definitely.
There are some real hammers in this league. And
definitely the biggest and best that I've seen in the few trails that I've already done.
Yeah, because you've done Northeast Texas.
I did some North and some and Slay Nation.
Slay Nation, there we go.
Yep.
And Junior, you've done.
Oh, that's why I started out with Slay Nation, and this is going to be the first, what I would consider a big-time trail.
Full-time trail rolling. You're trying to make the whole season?
Yes.
Yeah, man, I've been fishing with the Texas KBL, which was formerly the Southeast Texas KBL, for going on. This is my third season with these guys. And, dude, it's been a blast, man. Whenever I got into tournament fishing, 4 years ago, you could have asked me if tournament fishing was on the radar, and I would have told you no, because I simply wasn't even thinking about wanting to be a tournament angler. The idea of competitive angling for me was just, it didn't seem fun, when it came to the type of fishing that I was into and wanted to do. But I can say with full on honesty that I have genuinely loved fishing with these guys, man. It's been an absolute blast. I'm really excited to have you guys, fish in this league with me this year. We merged with Central, after the ACK Cats went down, when ACK obviously went out of business last year. We gave, the Central guys a home to fish with us out here. So, we added another group of hammers to the mix, and it's pretty crazy, man, when you think about it.
And our turnout's roughly just over 110 already.
Right now.
Yeah, over 110, almost 120 anglers this for this event. And I mean, the first event, the big bass tournament we had over at Lake Fayette, 2 weeks ago, was 150 something, almost 160 anglers for what most would consider to be a local trail.
Yeah,
Yep.
And
we were pulling 30 to 60 in Slay Nation last year.
Yeah, man, insanity, absolute insanity. So, when we talk about this whole tournament thing, a lot of guys that are out here, that may not be familiar with tournament fishing, especially on the kayak side, they may not have a lot of information on, where to start, how to get into tournament fishing and things like that. And, those of us that have been fishing tournaments for a little bit, I myself, you, Gerald, and you, Junior, now for a little bit that you've been fishing, what are some of the key things that do you think that are really important when it comes to really getting into the mindset of tournament fishing?
So for me, is not being intimidated by the big names.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
And show up to pre-fish or tournament morning, you see 100 kayaks on the water, it can be a little overwhelming, and you know you're up against some serious competition.
100%.
Yeah.
And not letting that get in your head, and just, you know, back when first started talking about tournament fishing with you, you're like, you know, just go out and have fun. Go out and have fun.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
what
man.
you know how to do. Fish.
First and foremost.
And if it's not going to say it's been easy to keep that mindset, because that pressure of trying to do good, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to be better every time.
Yeah, man.
But not losing the focus of what it's actually about, of, you know, having a good time, the camaraderie, and
Exactly.
you know, enjoying time on the water.
Yeah, man.
We're not
Most
paying
definitely.
our mortgage
For the
out
love
here.
of fishing.
Most
that's what it's
100%,
at.
man. What about you, Gerald? Like, what do you think helps is what gets your mindset right? You know, what do you think are some of the key things that you feel is what puts you in the right mindset to get into this tournament stuff? What got you into this?
The thing that got me into this is having an athletic background and doing this thing that I did for fun regularly, and still having that little bit of competitive spirit in there.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
you're an old man, but you're still like, but I could win something somewhere maybe. So then you're like, well, let's see, like, if I am a good fisherman.
Yeah, man.
And you learn real fast a couple of things, I think. One, it's not the same as going out on a Sunday or a Saturday and trying to catch a few fish.
100%.
Yep.
There's
Absolutely.
it's involved. There's some work to be done.
Yeah, man.
But also you'll learn what Junior talked about, the like intimidation factor. Like, all of us know names of guys that are on even just this particular trail
Yep.
and
Right.
would consider great fishermen. But any one of us can go out there and beat any of them
100%.
on any given day, because the fish don't care who's in that boat.
Yeah,
Right.
true
Like,
that.
We've placed higher than people that have won $10,000 checks
Most definitely.
in big tournaments.
100%.
It's a thing you hear often. Some people say, like, don't listen to the doc talk kind of thing. Kind
Yep.
of ties into that. Like, it's real easy to let who somebody is and their YouTube channel and the fish you've seen them catch get in your head.
Yeah, man.
But that don't matter when it's tomorrow and it's 39 degrees and the
32
bite's
degrees.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, man, and it's funny you mentioned the YouTube channel, the thing like that, and it's like, because coming from a content creator standpoint, me being a content creator, somebody that that started in this whole fishing thing, fishing online, making YouTube videos and things like that, coming into this league and coming into fishing competitively was extremely intimidating, because you never know, what people are going to think about you, because that's one of the things, at the end of the day, I don't care what people think about me. Obviously I hope that people hold me with high regard because, I carry myself with high regard. But, when it comes to the aspect of my social media personality and who I am online, I'm the same person in real life, so, but when it came to competitive angling and getting into competitive angling, I really wanted to push my skill set. I really wanted to solidify my skill set and to prove that not only am I a fisherman on social media, but I'm not just a face, but I'm a real angler at the end of the day. Like, I can come out here and hang with the best of them and potentially beat some of them. I haven't cashed a check yet, but there's still potential.
Still plenty of.
But in fishing, you can be a quarter inch away on any day you're out
100%,
there.
man. It's a game of inches all day long,
And you
man.
can be in 100th place because of that quarter inch.
Yeah, man, it's a game of inches all day long. We play this game by a quarter of an inch at a time, and it's like, that's something that I've been able to do over the last 3 years, of fishing, competitively. And, I've really fallen in love with the aspect of competitive fishing because, again, I had no interest in doing this, 4 years ago. I didn't want to come out here and be a competitive angler because I felt like it wasn't actually going to be fun. I fish because I love to fish. It's fun. But tournament fishing has been an absolute blast, bro. It has been an absolute blast.
It's exceeded my expectations.
Dude, I've met some of the coolest people, man. Like, I mean, these guys that fish in this trail, man, are probably some of the best people I've ever met, and outside of you guys, obviously, that I deal with on a regular basis. And, they're just a bunch of solid people, man, with a serious mindset to come out here and just catch fish, man. And that's what they do the best. And, so with that, in the tournament side of the house, it's like, overthinking the fishing is something that, we as fishermen do all the time. You think about, we're on a kayak, we've only got so much room to carry so much stuff. And it's like, how often do you take a step back and think, do I really need all of this stuff?
I do it every time I'm loading up, and then I still take it off.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
And I've been that way since the beginning, and like over the last couple of years, I've really started to learn to dial my kit in, and I bring less and less stuff with me on the water, because I was that guy that literally would have the entire Bass Pro Shops with me
I've
at
had
any
12
given time.
rods before.
Oh yeah, bro. 12, 13, 14 rods. I would literally have probably 60, 70 packs of baits, like 15
Of the same baits.
3,700 boxes in my crate. My front hatch would be loaded down with even more baits, and it's just like,
And that stuff sits there.
it just sits there.
And at
you,
the end of the day, you're like,
over
oh,
and
man,
over.
I did not even grab that rod.
you didn't use any of it, And I mean, in reality, how many out of 12 rods, how many rods do you really actually put to work when you're out on the water?
I genuinely think that putting yourself in a kayak first makes you find out what kind of fisherman you are.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you realize, oh, man, I didn't grab that. I didn't grab that. I didn't grab that. So you didn't need any of it in the first place.
Most definitely.
And I think you could go out and be competitive with 3 rods.
100%. 100%.
And I think that a lot of people might look at that guy that does do that and maybe doesn't have the big, shiny, flashy kayak and think, oh, man, like he's a beginner. He didn't really know nothing. But, like,
that
he
was
can
me.
be out here whooping you.
Yeah. Dude, it's guys out
With
here,
one
bro.
rod.
It is, man. There are guys out here, dude, that come out here with 2 or 3 rods, dude. They don't have any electronics, dude, and they smoke people all day long, man. Like, the truth is you don't need all of this stuff, Junior, how many rods do you typically have with you on any given outing?
Now I actually carry 6 rods, and each one is rigged up different. I've started having technique-specific rods
Yeah.
instead of having to constantly tie out. When I first started this, I had 3 rods, and they all had the snap swivels on them, so I could change baits out at any given moment. And the more I fished, I realized that, okay, I'm changing baits an awful lot. So I started getting more rods. And like I said, I've got 6, and 9 times out of 10, I'll only throw 4 of them.
Yeah.
But I've got those other 2 is
Just in case.
Just in case.
A lot of
Just in
times I
case.
genuinely think it's kind of a matter of convenience at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's rooted in laziness.
I
You
100%
don't want to
agree with you.
retie.
yeah, the retie.
100%.
You don't want to think about it. You just want to look and, oh, yeah, let's grab this one.
Yeah, man, because we don't get the luxury of like a bass boat, where they have all this storage and room to have 60, 70 rods at their fingertips. Dude, I break a lot of gear. I do. I hate to say it, but I break a lot of stuff. I'm hard on gear, dude. Like, and it's frustrating because, dude, I love the equipment that I use, and the equipment, I take good care of the equipment that I use. But, dude, I break stuff. I break stuff a lot, and not having that luxury of say a bass boater where you can carry 15, 20, 60 rods with you at any given time. I've learned over time that having all that stuff on the kayak is actually in my way. A lot of that is the reason why I break stuff.
Yeah.
Because I have 10 rods standing up behind my head, so whenever I go to make a cast and I bang the tip of my rod, or the bait snatches and grabs
Launches one into
3
the
rods
water.
from behind me,
Yanks them out.
oh man, yanks one out of the freaking rod holder and into the lake beside me, and I have no idea that it happens, or I break 3 rod tips off because a chatterbait flew back there and hit something as I'm casting. A lot of that stuff just gets in the way, and that that's whenever that whole thought process hits my mind, and it's like, do I really need all of this stuff? How much of this stuff do I actually need? And then by the time I get off the water, I kind of take accountability to kind of see, what did I actually use when I was out there on the water? How many of these rods did I actually pick up? And it's come down to like 3 to 5 rods. It's really come down to just 3 to 5 rods. It's how many rods I actually use. And you said the same thing. 3 to 5 rods is what you typically use. Same for you.
And even that, you might spend the bulk of your time
with
one.
With
rod.
one.
Yep.
Exactly.
60%, 70% of my day could be with one rod.
Yep. 100%. But at the same time, like, you do definitely want to have your backups. You do definitely want to have some extra, a follow-up bait and things like that, because, you're going to get into situations and scenarios where you're not going to catch something on that one rod, or just things are just not hitting the way that you think that they would. But if you keep your, your setups pretty general. You can pretty much tie anything on at any given time. So if you get out there and there's just nothing is happening, you can always just tie on that really oddball, weird bait.
Yep.
That they've never seen this before. I'm gonna tie this on and see what happens, and then boom, you start leaning
There it
into them.
is. Yep.
But yeah, man, dude, I feel like we as anglers we take a lot with us for no reason, and it like you said, it's just rooted in laziness,
Yep.
I think, and so from there, why outside of the lazy factor of it, why else do you think we pack so much stuff?
Because of other people.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because the three of us fish relatively similar waters. We all live in the state of Texas where all the lakes are nearly the same. You could say there's a couple of different types of lakes, but every one of us has a different style that they like to fish in,
Yep.
a different technique, a different brand, a different speed and a gear ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, man, he was knocking them down with a white spinnerbait.
Yeah.
I didn't throw a white spinnerbait.
Go out and buy 6
And
of
so you
them.
got to go buy a white spinnerbait. But then you can't just, you don't always just buy the white spinnerbait. Now you're like, man, but is this the right rod for a white spinnerbait?
Mm-hmm.
When, yes, that other rod is fine.
Yeah, man.
But now I'm like, man, I kind of need now I need to get that medium fast 7.4.
Man, dude.
I think that it's not that it's peer pressure, it's fear of missing out.
Yeah, man. That FOMO.
Yep.
That FOMO, man. Yeah, dude, I think you're right, man. I think, I think back to just whenever, getting started in the whole bass fishing thing, learning how to bass fish, fish for bass. Looking back on that now, I can honestly say that I literally looked around and saw so much of what everybody else had and was like, I need to get that because that's what that person is catching fish on. I need to go get that.
And if you ain't got it, you ain't gonna catch no fish.
You're not gonna catch no fish because, dude, I very, very specifically remember, my wife banning me from buying any more soft plastics because, dude, I would literally go to Walmart every time we went to Walmart, and my wife goes to Walmart 5-6 times a week, and dude, we'd be in Walmart and I would be buying a pack of plastics because I saw so and so using that plastic in that color,
Right.
and they caught this fish, so I need to get this soft plastic, and it's insane when I really, really think back to that because, again, when we talk about guys that are looking to get into the sport of fishing and even thinking about getting into the sport of competitive fishing, there are a lot of guys out here that fish competitively that have a lot of stuff. You got guys
Thousands and thousands.
tens of thousands of
Yes.
dollars invested into this sport. Just look at me, you, and Tristan. It's like, bro, like my kayak as it sits is right around 17, 18 grand.
I don't like to talk about it out loud because most of our wives don't really know what's all in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to, I haven't had to spend a lot of money on anything, throughout my fishing career. Early on, obviously, I spent a lot of money on stuff because I didn't have a choice. I had to. But, I've been, lucky enough to be able to work with great partners and things like that have afforded me opportunities to do things that I wouldn't normally be able to do. And I'm thankful for that. But, dude, as my boat sits right there on that trailer, dude, my boat as it sits is about $17,000, almost $18,000. Like, and we get that comment all the time. Man, you got all that in that kayak. Why don't you just buy a boat?
Yes.
I have a boat.
Yeah.
And my kayak is almost as valuable as my boat.
Yeah. And it's like, but, again, from the outside looking in, that guy that sees us out on the water, that sees us in these kayaks with all the bells and whistles, 2 graphs, forward facing sonar, 15 rods, the best rods and reels in the industry, propulsion, all these other things. And they're like, man, I need all of that to go out here and fish competitively. And the reality of it is no, you don't.
And that's really the pressure today, I believe, because of things like YouTube.
Yeah.
Because, like me, I grew up next to water. I fished, but I grew up where you were fishing for groceries.
Yeah.
You weren't competitively fishing. So when I changed that mindset to be competitive, I'm like, all right, well, I need to go learn about this.
Yeah.
And then you watch the big name people, and they're like, oh, you got to have this.
Yeah.
And then the other dude, no, you got to have this.
Yeah.
So then you buy them all.
Yeah, man.
And then you got a bunch of things sitting in the corner that you were like, I don't like this. And
Yeah.
I don't want this. And I don't fish this.
Yeah, and it's like for Junior, Junior, you were in a Big Fish 120 just like I was. That was the boat I started out in. You started out in a Big Fish 120, and then you just upgraded, what was it, last year
to the Perception.
To the Perception. You went pedals. And it's like, did you have any type of boat envy? Whenever is that what kind of pushed you into that boat? What got you into the boat that you're in now?
Not necessarily envy. It was looking to have a little better competitive edge.
Yeah.
Where, looking out and you see all the different types of propulsion devices, whether it be Texas Power Paddle, Water Snake, Torpedo, Bixby,
Newport vessels.
It's, those things aren't necessarily in my budget, and starting out, I'm like, I don't know if I want to invest that kind of money in something that I'm not 100% sure of.
Yep.
So I went with the next step up from a traditional paddle is pedal drive.
Yeah, man.
And I can say that I love it. It got me across the water a little quicker, and able to fish and maneuver differently.
Opens up that lake a little bit.
Yeah, and it's still a whole new aspect of fishing now, because I'm not constantly having to fight a paddle and
readjust
paddle
on the water. Yeah,
try and reel, and but it was definitely the looking for an additional competitive edge, or just be able to, for lack of better terminology, keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
And trying to stay in a realm of what I can financially afford without putting myself in a bind.
Yeah, man.
And now, more as I see the, looking out across 110 people out here, it's like, do I really need a different type of propulsion, or is it just a want?
Yeah.
Most dangerous word in fishing.
Yes.
Need.
Agreed, man. Yeah, I mean, because, dude, there's so much out here, man. There's so many different types of boats. There's so many types of propulsion. There's so much out here at your fingertips, but it all comes at a cost,
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, and it's like, realizing does that cost outweigh the value or the necessity? Do you really need this stuff at the end of the day to go out here and really be competitive?
Right.
Because the truth of it is no.
No.
I have active target on my kayak. I've had, forward facing sonar on my kayak now for a little over a year, maybe almost 2 years now at this point. But I can honestly say that I've caught more fish off of my kayak without using that than anything.
I turn my live scope off a lot.
Yeah. I literally turn it off. Dude, if you go out to Lake Fork, bro, you're not catching bass with that thing on. You're not, dude. Those fish are so geared into noticing and sensing that in the water, dude. You're not going to catch fish with that stuff on. I have literally had to turn my graphs off on the lake just to even get a bite.
Wow.
And yeah, man, I think, I don't think the technology is bad for the, for the sport or anything like that, but I do think that fish are becoming accustomed to it. So it's like, when I think about that, thinking about all the bells and the whistles that are on these boats and things like that, and again, this is information for a person that's coming into this and wanting to get into this, thinking, man, I got to have all of this stuff to go out here and fish competitively. I got to be able to go up against the best of the best that are out here on the water. You don't need any of that stuff. No. You can take, for example, a guy like Drew Gregory that's out here fishing in a Crescent Shoaly, with no electronics on it and 3 rods.
Straight paddling.
And he's paddling. He don't have pedals. He doesn't have a motor. He doesn't even have a graph on his boat. And he's out here fishing big water. He's fishing a lot of skinny water too. But
winning
tournaments.
Yeah,
he's out here fishing again. But again, Drew he's a different breed of person. Obviously, and the reality of it is whenever you look at some of these trails and some of the people that are in it, it doesn't matter what you put them up against. The same people that are in the top 5 are always going to be in the top 5.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
year
what
after year you see it.
What adversity you put up against them. Those same top 5 are always going to be in the top 5. But what you can do is go out here and give it your best shot, and that's what we
Try
do.
To be that one that knocks them down.
Exactly, man. And because when you do, man, it's crazy. Whenever when you place higher than some of those guys, because they go out here and they have bad days too, just like we all do.
Like I said earlier, every one of us can beat a guy that's cashed a $10,000 check.
Yeah, man.
And has.
Yeah.
I've seen people that are nationally known skunk.
Yeah.
It's fishing.
It is, man. It's just fishing at the end of the day.
Fishing.
It's just fishing at the end of the day. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that and they forget, that it's just fishing at the end of the day. Sure, you're fishing for some money. You know, you're out. You've invested something. You know, you got some skin in the game
Yeah.
because you've invested a few dollars into this pot that you're basically donating. In
Yeah,
most
that's not
cases.
the driving force for any of us.
Yeah, it's not.
No.
It's not at the end of the day. You know, I've donated a couple $1,000s to
lot of
this
money.
stuff. You know, and it's like at the end of the day, it only makes us better. You know, I think each time that we come out here and we get on this water in one of these tournaments and we fish against some of these guys that are out here, it makes us better anglers at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Every moment that we spend on the water, getting that time in and putting that time in on the water makes us a better angler. And that continuing to do that is what is going to allow us at some point to cash one of those checks. You know, that's what's going to put us in that position to be in that top 5, be in that top 10, be the top 1. You know what I mean? Is to go out here and just keep putting that time in on the water. And I think anybody that's coming into this, that's thinking about getting into tournament fishing, that's the only thing that they need to be focused on.
Yeah,
Just
all
go
you
out
need
there.
to do is do what it is that you do that makes you like doing
Yeah,
this.
just do what you know how to do. Just go out here and fish. Don't worry about anybody else. Fish your tournament at the end of the day. You know, you don't need the biggest and best kayak on the market. You don't need the biggest and best graphs in the market. You don't need the biggest and best rods and reels on the market. You don't need the biggest and best baits on the market. You can go out here with a Zebco 33,
Yeah.
5, 6 of them, with shotgun reel handles. You know, them old schools
And thick
with the pistol grips,
and whoop us.
and whoop them,
Yep.
and whoop them. You could literally do
Absolutely.
that.
Every
And-
one of us knows some old man with a tin boat that can fish.
You got to fish a circle around anybody.
I've gone out with my little girl, and she's caught bigger and more fish than I have in one day. It's like, and, you know, picking her own random crazy lures that she wants to throw, or what rod she wants. And, you know, here I am, the more experienced,
Yeah.
and get shown up by my little girl, 9 years old. It's like, obviously it's not while the experience comes with time, it doesn't always guarantee you that fish.
Yeah, man.
That
So,
experience will get you a skunk
Keep that
the same way.
that same mindset, fishing amongst 110 different anglers.
It's all luck at the end of the day, man. That's really all
Yeah.
it is, man. Fishing is just luck. You got to be in the right place at the right time with the right lure,
Right.
and hoping that fish is hungry for it.
Hoping he's hungry.
Which is why when you hear certain people talk about getting in other people's way or fishing their lake or their spot,
man.
you ain't catching nobody else's fish.
Yeah.
You're just not. All of us have saw a fish in the water
Yeah.
and couldn't catch it.
Yep. Plenty of times. I've done it countless times. I can't even count how many times I've done that. And it happens more often than not. So with that, you know, when we talk about, you know, baits and, you know, things like that and what we have on our kayaks and things like that, what are some of the, you know, what are some of the necessities that you have when you're out here on the water? Like, what do you always have with you? No questions asked. You always have that on the boat with you.
It's the ability to throw finesse soft plastics, to throw weightless worms and craws is always something I will fall back on.
Yeah.
It's something I would never leave my house without, like my medium heavy fast or medium fast rod. Something single hook and plastic.
Yeah. How about you, Junior?
My kind of go-to, I'm not going to leave home without it. It's going to be a soft plastic crawl.
Yeah, a crawl?
Texas rig crawl. It's my go-to. Almost guaranteed I'll get something on the end of it.
Yeah, man. And like for me, so I've really dialed in my setups over the last couple years, man. Like I've really learned to downsize my kit. And dude, I've got 6 setups with me that I basically have learned over the last 2 years of just hardcore fishing tournaments that this is really the only baits that I need to take with me whenever I go out here. And it, like, this has gotten to a point where it even carries over into my regular everyday fun fishing. Like, these are the same setups that I have with me anytime I go out on the water.
Right.
I have some type of bladed bait, whether it's a spinner bait or a chatterbait. I have a jig. I have a football jig or some type of flipping jig with me, or sometimes both. But I will have a jig with me every single time. It doesn't matter when I go out, what kind of water I'm on, I always have a jig with me. I always have a deep diving crankbait and a medium diving crankbait. So that's 2 cranking setups that I always have with me. So I either have a DT16, DT20, or a DT14 and above and a DT10 and lower. with me.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have a flipping setup, which is just like a soft plastic worm typically, or some type of creature bait that I can flip into reeds, flip around timber and wood. And then I have a Texas rig setup and a swim bait. Those are the
Swim bait.
micros, like a 3.25 or a 4-inch swim bait.
All right.
Is what I have with me on a spinning rod, on a ball head jig. Those are the 6 setups that I have with me no matter what and when I go out. It doesn't matter what lake I'm fishing. It doesn't matter what the conditions are. Those are the 6 presentations that I always have with me. I always have those items tied on.
4 of those are in my wheelhouse that I always have.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And dude, I catch that crankbait is basically glued to my hand all day long.
And we've talked a few times. In fact, I can't catch fish cranking.
Oh, bro.
I can't. I might be the only person that can't catch a fish cranking.
Dude, cranking is my go-to, man. That is. I love to catch fish on a crankbait, dude. That is my way to catch them, dude. I love it.
So
Dude,
I'm a personal fan of swim jigs.
see, I just got
I'm
into
a
the swim jig.
big fan of swim jigs.
Yeah, I just really got into throwing a swim jig around probably mid last year. That swim jig is Charlie's thing. Charlie is a swim jigging fool, man. That dude will throw a swim jig. He gets up in that shallow grass, man, and that dude will sit out there and throw a swim jig all day long, dude, and just wreck them on it. And I just got into really, really throwing the swim jig, probably mid last year, last summer is whenever I really, really picked up that swim jig and really, really got into it pretty heavy. And dude, I've caught a lot of really good fish on a swim jig. And it was something that was heavily overlooked for me in the past. Like, I would not throw a swim jig for anything.
Swim jigs are surprisingly very versatile.
Very.
They are, man, because
multiple water columns.
you can flip them, you can
Multiple
swim them,
speeds.
you can drag them on the bottom, you can hop
Trailer,
them
no
around.
trailer.
Yeah, there's so much you can do with them.
This all plays right into what we were saying earlier about what would you tell a person getting into kayak fishing or whatever it is. Confidence is key.
Yeah.
All of us fish a different style.
Yep.
You got to find the thing that is your thing. And now that might be some trial and error in that.
Mm-hmm.
But learn one thing and then add a thing and add a thing. Like this year for me, I have goals. One is to become a better cranker. Last year, it was to throw football jigs better. Every year or month or however long you determine that timeline, add a thing. But start with something that you have confidence in. Because confidence is the only thing that actually matters. If you don't think it's good in your mind, it doesn't matter how many fish, Bill Dance caught on it, you're not gonna. Confidence.
No, I agree with you on that, man. Having that, that confidence bait that you've been fishing, from the bank or the boat or whatever wherever you've been fishing, that still carries over into the kayak space. It still carries over into fishing competitively. If you're confident throwing a chatterbait, keep throwing that chatterbait. Keep throwing that chatterbait. If you're confident throwing a spinnerbait, keep throwing that spinnerbait. If dragging a worm around all day long is your thing, that's how you get them, bro, throw that worm. Having that confidence to go out there and just fish the way that you know how to fish, that's the key to it all, man. Is fishing your way. Don't worry about anybody else. Don't worry about the fish that people are or maybe catching around you. We have a habit of constantly looking at the leaderboard. I know that I do that a lot.
Try not to.
You try not to, man.
Fail.
Especially when you're struggling. Whenever you're
Like,
Just
if
want
you
to see
haven't
if
caught
anybody
one
else
yet,
is struggling as bad as you.
Last year when we fished Belton,
mm-hmm.
I was struggling. I had nothing. And about 12:30, I had nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that leaderboard, and I'm sweating.
Yeah, man.
I'm like, I can't skunk, man. I just need to get one.
Yeah, man.
That gets in your head.
It does,
Yeah, it
man.
does.
It
And
definitely
that can
does.
tank you.
It can.
Luckily, I caught a fish, but I only caught one fish.
That's all that matters.
But that
man,
one was an instant
Yes.
boost.
You're like,
all
Yeah,
right,
man.
now
I
we're
can
fishing.
relax.
It's a huge weight off of your shoulders. Even though you catch it at the end of the day, just getting that one fish in the boat, man, that can be the thing that sets you up for success the whole time. You just getting that monkey off of your back.
Yep.
But like I say, it's like, staring at the leaderboard all day long, when you're having that terrible, terrible day, you're just grinding it out, nothing is shaking. And then, every, 20, 30 minutes you jump on there, look at the leaderboard, see where everything is at. Like you said, that gets in your head, man. And it can really, really
Start feeling defeated.
You can. And the thing is like, I believe that the fish can feel that. They can sense that defeat. Whenever you start projecting that outwardly, the fish can feel that. And they're down there laughing at you.
But how bad is it when that leaderboard gets turned off, though?
Oh, that's the worst.
That's the worst.
That's the worst.
Even if you didn't want to look at it,
even
the fact you can't.
Bro, even whenever when you're putting fish in the boat, like when you're rolling, you gotta, you're working on a limit or you got a limit, the leaderboard is getting a little tight, and then they shut it off. Like, that is the worst. That is the worst part.
It is stressful.
It is stressful, man. But like, again, that.
Even when you ain't winning this.
Oh yeah, bro.
You can have one fish. And it's stressing you out that you can't look.
But the crazy part is like when you have a limit and you know that if you get like one or two of just the right fish, bro, like it could put you up there, and they shut the leaderboard off.
Just need that kicker.
And you got an hour and a half left in the tournament, and you don't know what the heck's happening. You don't know what's happening. You catch another fish, and you're like, crap, I don't think that's the right one. That's not the right one. I don't know if that's the one I need. And then you're like, man, somebody got a 20 out there. I know somebody done caught a 22 somewhere. Yeah. There's no way. It gets in.
Steadily building.
It does, man. It gets in your head, man. And again, focusing on, the task at hand. Just focus on fishing.
Control what you can control.
My very first tournament, I was out on the water for 5.5 hours before I caught the first fish.
My first tournament ever, I skunked.
I did too. Now that I think about it.
I was like, what am I doing out here? And I pull up the leaderboard, and I instantly was like, I'm wasting my time out here with these people.
Yeah, man.
There was I think it was 117 inches on the board, and I had just caught my first 16 3/4 was my first one.
Yeah, bro.
I've got 2.5 hours left. There's no way I'm going to catch up.
Yeah, dude.
But the crazy thing is, you could.
You really could,
fishing.
Man.
You can back to back.
I ended up catching 4 more. They didn't obviously put me that high up in the.
But it got you on the board.
But I was on the board.
It got you on the board, man. And that not giving up, not quitting whenever you think it's over, because a lot of people will give into that. Dude, I've been out here. I have literally flat out skunked in a tournament, in a couple tournaments. And it's like, me and Charlie, I'll get on the phone and talk to him about it, man. And it's like, dude, just nothing was firing, man. Nothing was going my way. And
that's what addicts you.
That's what brings me back every single time. Is like, I'm going to go back out here the next time and I'm going to do better. I'm going to come back out here and I'm going to do better than I did the last time. Like, it makes me think back to just my, my championship at Lake Fork last year. We didn't get to put this video out. We still got it because there was a lot of stuff that happened out there. But dude, like, that was a 2-day tournament, bro. And that was probably the toughest fishing I've ever done in my entire life. Like, I am not kidding. Probably the toughest time I've ever had on the lake. And they had a big bass splash on Lake Fork the weekend before our championship. So they're probably caught over 10,000 fish out of this lake. And Lake Fork is a slot lake. So they can't even put a fish in the live well that's under 24 inches long. So they're bringing in overs. I think they caught 790 overs in this big bass splash. There's over 2,000 boats on the lake in a weekend.
Which is 5+ pounders.
No, bro, you're talking 9
minimums,
10 pounders.
Yeah,
you're talking on the small side 7s.
Yeah.
On the big side, you're talking 10 11s, and more. But yeah, man, and I was out there, bro, and it was hot, and I was struggling, man. The same pattern that I had put together, a month before this, whenever I was out there practicing on the lake, none of it played. None of it, dude, because the fish had just had the brakes beat off of them. They were tired. They were like, nope, I'm not eating any of that stuff. We played this game already last weekend.
And Lake Fork will humble you.
Pre-fishing in general is leading up to tournament morning.
Yeah. What are you trying to look for? Like, what's your purpose in pre-fishing? Because I think everybody has like the thing they want out of it.
Well, in all reality, we're all trying to find where the fish might be hiding out. Are they holding in one area? What depth are they at? Where, what structure maybe somebody missed during a YouTube video that pointed out 50 different hot spots.
I haven't gotten to pre-fish a lot of the tournaments that I've fished, but when I have, I think my goal is similar to you. What's out there? Like, is this Navionics chart that I've looked at before, is it that deep? Is this roadbed, something that you can easily see, or is the grass here, or is it dead?
So, how much time do you spend researching?
A lot less than I think I should. I might watch some YouTube videos or pull up, Google. I always will pull up Google Earth and kind of look back. You can often see when things have had droughts, so you might find some brush piles and things like that. But I think you can get in your head a little bit, and then you have this determined plan that this is what I'm going to do, this is how it has to go, and I'm going to knock them down over there. And going out there and it not happen can just defeat you.
It'll suck all the wind out of you.
So straight up, last year I didn't get a chance to pre-fish anything.
Yeah.
And I caught more fish last year starting out than I have this year.
Pre-fishing every time, doing map
pre-fishing,
studying.
studying, trying to look up every tips and tricks for, all the different lakes.
And when you pre-fish, there's not 100 boats with you. When we did the Lone Star Throwdown, I had a great pre-fish.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, every man that had a motor, all those spots that I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get him over here. I'm pulling up. Oh, somebody's on that spot. Go to the next one. Somebody's on that spot. Go to the next one. Somebody's on that spot.
And that's the only.
And now you're like, now I don't know what to do. But you do. You got this locked in thing in your head where you couldn't, break your plan. You got to figure it out.
That's the only reason that I have been so adamant and I've got to get an additional propulsion of some sort, is so I can get to those spots.
The only reason I'm buying a motor.
And try to beat the next angler there. But at the same time, I've come in behind people that got there early.
Played cleanup duty on them.
Exactly. And all right, they missed these 4, and then you get back to the ramp and you're talking, hey, saw you were in this cove over here. Did you have any luck? No, there wasn't nothing in there.
And you might leave that alone because somebody told you that.
You might.
Yep.
Yeah. And so like pre-fishing for me, man, is different. 2 years ago when I first started tournament fishing, I didn't pre-fish anything because I didn't have the time. Yeah. I didn't have the ability to get out and pre-fish. And I don't necessarily think that pre-fishing is important. I think it's just a mental thing. I think it's one of those situations where, are you kind of a get up and just kind of go out and do it kind of person, or do you need that little extra eye on the water, that little extra boost to go out here and see what things look like? Because, I do a ton of map study. That basically my first year of tournament fishing, that's basically all I could do is map study. So, I learned a lot about lakes and basically what I was going into before I ever even got on the water. And I would learn as much as possible. That way, whenever I finally did get out there onto the water, I didn't have to waste a lot of time, trying to clear a bunch of dead water. I could kind of go to the spots that I had checked out online, that I was familiar with, that I thought fish should be in this area based on these conditions, based on X, Y, and Z. There should be fish in these spots.
Did you do this before you started competitive fishing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, when me and Charlie would go fish or even just fun fishing on my own, we would just pull up on spots. We never would go out and just pre-fish anything. We would just go out there and just figure it out. We'd go out and put in 15, 20 miles on a lake paddling at the time.
But did you do the research prior?
We would do some, a little bit, but not a whole lot.
You're a lot more in depth on it.
Most definitely now. Okay. And then last year was the first year of me fishing tournaments and fishing competitively where I actually took the additional time so that I would actually get in a practice day. And the way I use my practice is that I'd rarely even actually fish on practice day.
Covering ground.
I'm basically covering water and eliminating water for tournament day on practice day. So basically I do all my map study and everything that I'm doing, looking at Google Earth, looking at Navionics, doing all this stuff, in the weeks leading up to my practice. And then whenever I get on the water for practice, I'm basically going out there to validate and verify that stuff that I looked at online and to see if there are fish on or in the area of the stuff that I found. And if there's not, I mark that off. I'm not coming back here the next day. I may make a handful of casts, and if it's a lake that I've never, ever been to, I might throw around a few times. But the reason why I don't really do a ton of fishing on practice day is because I want those fish to be there and be hungry tomorrow. and it's kind of a weird mindset that I won't say it's a weird mindset. I think it's a great mindset. I wish others had the same mindset, because I mean, you get a lot of these guys that, again, these guys are hardcore. They fish this stuff a lot. Bro, they'll go out there and they'll get 2-3 limits. They'll catch 15, 20 fish. And they'll be, I caught them here, caught them there, caught them on this, caught them on that. And then they come back out on tournament day and do the same thing all over again in the same exact spots. So it's one of those things. It's like, are the fish going to be there or are they not going to be there? Are you going to sore lip them or not?
My goal is to not catch them. Like, I ain't setting the hook.
Yeah, no.
Like, they might tap it. And
I've watched guys go out there and
let it go
and rip a fish smooth out his living room, bro. Like, they don't care. They're snatching lips off faces. And,
I've even cut the tips off of hooks before.
Yeah, see, I've considered doing that, but then I'd have to do it on basically every bait that I'm throwing.
That's why I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Because then I grab one, I'm like, oh man, this don't have a tip.
Exactly. And but yeah, so for me, tournament practice is just an opportunity for me to go out here and get eyes on the water.
I want to see where the boat ramp is, how easy it is to get to.
Exactly.
Is that point as far away as I think it is?
Exactly.
And that's what I need.
Where is that structure that I found on Google Earth or Navionics in correlation to where I'm going to be launching at? How deep is it actually going to be, and is there fish on that?
Like, is it going to take me a half an hour of paddling
Yeah.
to get to this place that I want to or not?
Exactly. And a lot of times that,
And it might.
it might
take you longer.
Dude.
That's why I want a motor.
Yeah, it might, man, and it can be tough. You know what I'm saying? But we do it because we love it. At the end of the day,
That's it.
I'll go out here and I'll put in 16. Like for this tournament, we were supposed to practice today. We didn't practice. We woke up at 7 o'clock this morning and it was blowing 15, 20 miles per hour and it was 14 degrees out here. It was cold.
I took my time.
Yeah, it was cold out here. I had no interest in getting out there on that water. I think there was only like 4 or 5 guys that we saw from over here in the camping area that actually got out there on the water and practiced. So, I've never been to Somerville before. Junior said him and his wife got married here, 12 years ago.
Right across the lake.
Yeah, right across the lake. But he hasn't been out here since then.
And I've never been south of Austin.
Yeah, so this is your first time coming to this lake.
2 tournaments ago.
Yeah, so this is your first time coming to this lake as well. So, we're basically going into this blind. Outside of, I've done a ton of map study. I actually need to go in there and export my.
Ain't gonna lie, I've probably done a little more on this lake than any of the other lakes.
Yeah, and then on top of that, this lake is down like 12 feet.
And this weather.
And this weather is garbage. I mean, it's going to be 19 degrees and wake up in the morning.
Well, we got a beautiful full moon.
Yeah, full moon. The fish are going to gorge themselves tonight, so they're not going to be eating anything tomorrow. And I mean, it's just going to be crazy. It's going to be the wild, wild west out there tomorrow. And it's like, but we're just going to have to go out there and figure it out.
But I don't feel any less confident than I would normally because I anticipate this being a tough one.
Yeah, man.
The conditions of this, I don't believe, and I obviously could be wrong, anybody's going to come out here and be like, oh, man, I got this.
A lot of these guys have been posting, they've been out here for the last
week or 2,
4 or 5 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever, pre-fishing this tournament, and they've all been catching 1 or 2 fish.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has put a limit in them. I'm sure somebody has, and they're just not saying anything. But
a couple of those have been really nice.
Oh, they've been great.
They've been good fish.
They've been the right fish. You know what I'm saying? They've been the right fish. And Josh was talking about it earlier. He's saying, if you go out here and you get a limit, tomorrow, you'll probably be in the top 5. He's like, that's how tough this lake is fishing. So it's like, that's always been one of my goals, whenever I started this competitive fishing, getting into these tournaments, is that anytime I get on the water out here, my goal is to just put 5 fish in the boat. That's my goal at the end of the day. I don't care, obviously I want to win a tournament. I would love to win a tournament, and I know it'll come at one of these times. But my goal at the end of the day, every time I come out here, is to just put 5 fish in the boat when it counts.
That's the only thing I care about.
That's the only thing I'm worried about. I want to be able to go out here and say I can put 5 fish in the boat on any lake that I set foot on, set paddle in when it counts. Because the tournament is when it counts.
Right. But unfortunately, that does not always happen.
It doesn't always happen. But I've been grateful enough to be able to do it the majority of the time. I've been able to put a limit in the boat when it counts the majority of the time. It may not always be the 5 right fish.
Yeah.
But I get
caught a limit last tournament and only measured 2 fish.
I get 5 of them in the boat, and that's what I always just maintain that focus on. Is always just go out here, fish the way I know how to fish, and just try to put 5 fish in the boat. It doesn't matter at the end of the day if that was if I had 100 inches, if I had 80 inches, if I had 5 fish in the boat, that's all that matters. I went out there and I put a limit in the boat, and I think that anybody coming into this and getting into tournaments and wanting to try out, this competitive side of the house, that's the only thing you should focus on too.
Yeah, less focus on trying to be the best
Because it doesn't matter if you can catch 8-pounders if you can only catch one.
Right.
Yep.
You have to catch a limit. That's the goal.
gotta get a limit.
The only goal of this sport is
You
to catch a limit. You're not going to win without a limit.
You can't win the
usually.
tournament without a limit. Yeah, I mean, in most cases, 99.999%,
Yes.
you're not going to win the tournament without a limit in the boat.
And catching that fifth fish, if it barely measured to 12, can be the difference in you being on 100th place or cashing a check.
Yeah, it's literally that easy. It's that simple. You could go from 100th place all the way up to top 20 off of one fish. That could literally be a 13-inch long fish, because you never know what everybody else is doing. Sure, there are going to be some guys that are going to go out here tomorrow, and they're going to put some 20s in the boat. They're going to put a 22, 23 in the boat. They might put one or two of them in the boat. There's going to be some 17, 18s and all of that stuff. And we may go out here and it may be a dink fest for us. We might not even catch a bass tomorrow. We might just go out here and get a stringer full of white bass.
Hey,
True.
But
I've caught like a dozen white bass in a tournament that I did not catch a limit of large.
yeah, bro.
they're still fun to catch.
They're
They
fun
are.
to catch.
And
They're
I'm
fun
not
to
mad
catch.
when I go home.
Yeah.
I came out here to catch fish.
Yeah, that's really it.
That's
At
it.
the end of the day, I mean, you donated some money.
Yeah.
You
I
caught
wish
some
I would have
fish.
thrown them in the cooler.
Yeah.
Get degrees.
That's why you always keep one with you. You always keep a stringer with you. But yeah, man, at the end of the day, again, the focus is to go out here and have fun.
Have fun.
Bring
have
what
fun.
you have and do the thing you like to do.
Yeah, do what you love to do. Do it for the reasons that you love to do it. And don't forget why you're doing it in the first place. And just have fun doing it, man, because that's why we do it. For the love of fishing at the end of the day. That's the only reason I do any of this stuff is because it's for the love of fishing.
Like I remember Brian Latimer one time when I saying there's probably 100 guys in America paying their mortgage from fishing.
Oh, yeah. I believe it.
So the statistically, it's not going to be you.
Yeah, probably not.
So if that's why you're doing it,
Yeah.
or if you're doing it for 1 million followers, if you're doing it for a check, you're
doing
probably
it for the
not
right
going to
reasons?
enjoy it as much,
Yeah, you're definitely not
and
going to
you're
enjoy
probably going to fail that goal.
it. Yeah.
But if you came out here to sit at this campfire and eat some sausage and catch a couple fish,
Eat a couple bowls of chili.
you ain't going to have a problem in the world.
None at all. You're going to have a great time. You're going to enjoy it, and you're going to have a blast out here doing it. And that's all that should matter at the end of the day. Yeah, man. Well, guys, this is an absolute pleasure, man, hanging out here with you guys. Really looking forward to getting on the water with y'all tomorrow.
Likewise.
And, I really appreciate you guys stopping by, hanging out on the podcast this evening. And obviously this night, this beautiful full moon.
So
next to
much
this-
better than I was anticipating.
This warm campfire. And, Gerald, where can people find you on social media?
3 the hard way, anywhere you want to look for it.
Yeah, YouTube, Instagram.
Yeah.
Cool. What about you, Junior?
It's Instagram, small time fishing. I've got my Facebook, same small time fishing. And haven't got the YouTube channel fully going. I think I've got 1 or 2 videos on there from last tourney season. And actually I've got a Twitter now too.
Oh, there you go. Same thing on there too. Well, you do better, exactly. Well, you guys know where to find me and your boy, That Bass Fishing Dude, basically across all platforms. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this episode. Again, man, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. If you like what I'm doing, if you love what I'm doing, if you hate what I'm doing, by all means, if you're on the YouTube channel watching this video, jump down there in them comments and leave your boy some feedback. And as always, check back in with your boy, That Bass Fishing Dude, for the next podcast episode. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Well, gang, that's a wrap for this episode. So if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. And don't forget to turn on that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. You can also follow us along at That Bass Fishing Dude on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. See you on the next one.